Hi everyone, welcome to the Power Armor podcast. I'm joined here by someone who probably does not need an introduction to most members of the community because, well, you already know him by now, most likely. We're here with Zander.
How's it going?
Yeah, so we figured for this podcast we'd start by, introducing a well-known builder of power armor as a hobbyist and let him talk a bit about his creations so far.
Cool. Not really good at these sort of things, so you want to throw some questions at me or
Yeah,
get me knowing what's on your mind?
yeah, sure. I'm new to this too. I'm just hoping that I'm going to get halfway decent before I run out of things to talk about. All right, so do you want to just explain maybe we should just ask, how did you get into building your own suit of power armor?
Well, I think like most of us, we're Iron Man nerds growing up. Appreciated the engineering, and one day I had no skills whatsoever, and I just thought, "F it, I might as well start learning on my own." The internet is a beautiful thing. There's no excuse not to, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. There's no excuse not to research stuff that you have a interest in and try to figure it out a little bit more. But basically, I taught myself welding and engineering. Took a couple of years, and I started with baby steps, doing small projects here and small projects there. A lot of the same influences that we all know, like David Guyton and Hacksmith is a big one as well. They all influenced me on what to do and what not to do in regards to what I want to accomplish. But basically, I wanted to build my own exoskeleton, my own power armor, Iron Man build. It was really bad. I actually obsessed with it like 24/7 for like 2 years. I'm on like 3.5 year mark in regards to starting this journey. And yeah, I saw potential. A lot of people are doing a lot of cosplay. The technology is here. Why not make the actual thing? But it's a trial and error. I'm not where I want to be in regards to suit building, but it's the journey, not the ending, that matters. So basically, I'm trying to adapt whatever information I can bring in and put that to my now 2 suits of armor. I got my 500-pound, 6-foot tall behemoth, which is Prometheus. It's more related to Space Marine armor from Warhammer 40K or power armor from Fallout.
Emperor protects.
You'd like that. But it's next to impossible to walk in. I mean, each leg's 100 pounds. I'm basically wobbling like a penguin. But I honestly, I just want to build something that would be useful in the future. I mean, I live in Utah, and I've already had a fire department down in St. George tell me that once I perfect my hand grippers for my first suit, they want to use it for like a portable Jaws of Life, because I basically have the same strength as like a 4x4 300-pound machine in regards to like just slipping your hand in a giant glove and you'll be able to rip off a door. But the end goal, and I keep bouncing everywhere, is to basically make something that people can use down the line.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. There's wow, I really should be taking notes because there's quite a few little points there's quite a few points from that we could branch out from, just with like where power armor is technologically at the moment and issues with power to weight ratios. I know there is a company making I believe they're making a consumer product, which is a powered glove at the moment. I'd have to go track them down, but I think they might even be, they're also building them for astronauts, but that's a bit different to a giant power claw to rip stuff open. They're not quite at the point of big orc power claws just rip things apart, but well, not that it's well, just from the non-declassified stuff. I mean, who knows? Although I don't think Space Force is too interested in melee. They've already said that they're not interested in bayonet charges, which is a little bit sad.
Their loss.
Yeah. um. Yeah. So what's with the second suit you're building now that you've moved away from Prometheus temporarily? What's the idea of this lighter one?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out with Prometheus, it's on hold. I have to make, I basically have like 23 5,000 Newton linear actuators throughout the whole suit, which gives it a stupid amount of strength. And I have the power source for it, but I have to design the PCB board, basically make my own microcontroller that'll be able to take the amount of power that runs through it. And that's next to impossible to get machined or done professionally right now. So I have to do that myself. So basically I have to figure out those controls. So I'll be able to take the weight of each leg and have a more fluid walk and step. I got a couple of videos on Instagram, TikTok, all the fun fad places with video of me walking. I'm basically walking like a penguin. But I decided it's equivalent to Tony Stark, his first suit, and then his second suit. His first suit was big and clumpy, but his second suit, after he left the cave, he spent 3 weeks nonstop trying to make something perfected. That's what I'm trying to do with my Mark II, which is known as Nemesis. That one's more skin tight to the body. I'm using, instead of inch by inch solid steel stock bar tool steel that the first suit is, I'm using 1080 cold rolled steel. So it's the same strength, but like 1/5 the weight, 1/5 the size. It's like stupid small and compact. So it's more realistic in regards to giving me the strength I need if I were to apply those motors to the second suit and be able to move it independently. Because if you have an exoskeleton and you run out of power and you're just basically stuck, it's a giant cage and it's not going to be beneficial. So again, it goes back to the weight and power ratio thing. That's the biggest suffering part of this entire thing. It's sacrificing speed for power and being able to move it on your own, or what parts you need assisted and whatnot. But it's going pretty well. I got some spray, Pour 15, makes it EMP proof. That'll protect my electronics on the inside of it. And I've been designing it so it's less weight, and theoretically if it's less weight, it's less strain on the motors, so you'll have more battery life on motors and stuff like that. But I'm going to make it more of an independent suit. It'll have motors for the joints and everything, but it's literally skin tight, so not much room for the electronics on the second part as much.
You can always put them in the back in a pack like they do with spacesuits. So then again, if it's like with EMP, it's, well, if you're in a completely enclosed suit, I kind of feel like that would act as a Faraday cage, which is
pretty much what I made it into, as a Faraday cage.
But the strength to weight ratio is a really big issue, and I've noticed with most of the military stuff, they're really trying to really focusing on not super strength, just like taking off the weight of the backpack and maybe some of the weight of the actual user. So it's like it relieves a little bit of your weight. It doesn't give you super strength, but it kind of gives you super endurance because you're not exerting as much force throughout the day. So you can keep going at the same, you can keep moving at peak performance, but you don't get tired. So you can go for longer and stronger. And there's an interview I believe I posted on the group where there's a guy who's in charge of Raytheon's exoskeleton project, talking about how they get operators to do a bunch of squats in the morning, then they go do PT all day in the suit, and then at the end of the day, wearing the suit, they can do more squats than at the start of the day without it. So yeah, they're stronger at the end of the day than at the start of the day because of the improved endurance from this suit. But they're really pushing for their emphasis is more on endurance, fatigue reduction in back and reduction in back strain, as opposed to being like big power loaders from Alien, which is cool in its own way, but I guess that's not really the direction they see being appropriate for the near future.
Oh yeah, and I give props to James Hacksmith for what he's doing with his power loader build. But passive exoskeletons is what you're talking about, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong. There is a group that I've been talking to, and I'm sure you're in contact with them as well. Contrafect Studios, amazing guys from Russia. They've mastered the passive exoskeleton by using gas struts. I've adapted it in my suit as well. It just takes the entire weight off from the person itself by equipping just gas struts in all the joints, so it can just dampen all the movement and everything. Highly like we can go on for hours in regards to like the pros of that. But highly we got that time.
Yeah, we can always string multiples of these together. Though I believe the current version of the Raytheon one, the Onyx, is not a passive, it's an active exoskeleton. It's got powered actuators in it, whereas I believe that isn't the term passive exoskeleton refers to non-powered things like using springs and elastic bands and stuff. So like if you need to bend over and pick something up, there'll be like a band going down your back, so it takes the load of your body and then you lift it up, which is what I'm planning on doing for my personal armor. I know this isn't about my suit, this chat, but it's it's a great stepping stone for basically making a test bed prototype, which is what I'm looking at, because by the time I'm done making a spring powered one, hopefully the price of some of these new high-end actuators will have come down.
Yeah, those things are pretty ridiculous. I mean, I spent like 3 or 4 months researching the best length of travel, the best stroke in regards to like linear actuators and stuff like that. And there's like mainly 3 different branches of exoskeletons. So there's pneumatic, hydraulic, and then what I use is linear actuators. In my opinion, the other ones are they come with too many problems in regards to the pros that it brings. I can drop a lot of names of all these other makers that mess with hydraulics and stuff like that. And pneumatics, obviously, Hacksmith made that famous in regards to using air power for lifting and stuff like that. But where was I going with this? It's been a long day. I just got off from work.
Yeah, it's all right. This is casual.
Yeah, I never do this. So remind me what were we talking about? Like the
just actuators and stuff and the different types of actuators.
Yeah, so basically Amazon has a really good deal for like 30 or 40 bucks. You can get a decent 225-pound one. But if you type in or 5,000 Newton actuator, you'll get the exact same for the same price. You'll get an actuator that pushes close to 1,400 pounds, but it's a little bit bigger, has a bigger motor. It depends on how much leeway you got. A lot of these companies that have the small compact actuators are just stupid expensive. I remember seeing one the other day for like $400 or $500 for one, and I was like, another maker, Malik, he's making an Iron Man suit for cosplay, I'm guessing, but it's like legit out of motors and springs and everything like that. He bought all these small linear actuators, like they don't even push 6 pounds each, for like $100 each. And it's like if you know the right places like Banggood or Amazon, you can build a lot of these things yourself for not even 1/4 the price. That's also something you can look into, but I digress. These companies that are hiking up linear actuators for stupid amounts of money, they can kick rocks.
Yeah. So there's two different types of new actuators that I've been made aware of that are like really new designs. There's one chemical one. It might be a phase change one, running a current through some kind of chemical to create massive amounts of pressure for very little energy. You know how who's that Russian guy who's got the electrolysis powered system?
The hydrogen reactor.
Yeah,
You're talking
yeah.
about.
I need to do more research, but I think there's a new type of one being made for lightweight, high-powered robotics it uses a different chemical as its medium, but produces crazy high pressures for very little energy input. That I need to do more research on that, but working 50 to 60 hours a week doesn't leave, and working on a suit of armor doesn't leave much time for research. And I believe there's another type of actuator that they 3D print. It's really, really new. They're small enough that it can fit inside a human size. Like it's designed for like inside of like robotics the size of a human hand to make joints. Wow. But like each one can produce something like 5,000 pounds of force, and it's small enough to fit inside of a glove. It achieves this by it only moves about a tiny drop of fluid at a time, but it does it under crazy high pressure. So it's able to be super compact and super energy efficient. But the problem is they're like over $1,000 each. They're made by one company that developed them, and they're only just like they're like super new, cutting edge. So they're 3D printed. They're very expensive to make, and so. But these are only a year or two old, so hopefully they'll come down in price once the manufacturing capacity goes up.
Hopefully, because and I'll probably be able to show you in a little bit. I've been mimicking the way the anatomy of the body works, because you don't have any strength in your hand. The majority of your strength comes from the forearms, and it's just basically pull cords that comes down your fingertips. I've been trying to mimic that, like for an actual grip strength. That's next to what's an easy way to say this? If you're broke and you don't have the resources as like say Tony Stark or all these other companies that they specialize in all this stuff, it's like next to impossible to get your hands on that stuff. But
until Doge hits the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because that lost a lot of money on that one. Should have bought it sooner.
A lot of people lost a lot of money on that, but oh well. It might get there one day.
I hope so.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, in time I'll be able to head out to my little bat cave and show you. Prometheus is in pieces, so you're not going to get the full glory of seeing him standing just yet, but I'll run through everything and show you guys what I got going on and whatnot.
All right, cool. Do we want to go do that now? I can stop the recording and we can restart a new Zoom meeting in your workshop, and you can take us on a tour.
No, that's actually fine. Let me just head there now. You can talk to me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right there. But let's go over here. You can see he's in pieces, but what do you want to see first?
Just take us on a tour.
All right. These are the boots that TikTok's been loving. These things are next to 100 pounds each. It's like
heavy boots of lead
yeah.
fills his victims full of dread. Sorry,
Pretty much. Yeah, it's stupid heavy. Like the entire thing. I mean, it's has its pros and whatnot, but like this arm itself. Let me pull that up. Now I'm not a weak guy, but you can tell I'm struggling a little bit. Yeah, that's borderline a mech. I have been, however, working on a new type of form where all the actuators are in the form itself, and it'll run to fingers. Sorry, my phone was cutting out for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It'll run to the fingers and pull the cable cord down. The hands probably got to be a lot better, but hopefully you get the concept. Motors have to be a little more better placed, but it would run up the upside right here, pull down on the fingers, give you super strength. That concept is sort of new in regards to doing that. But yeah, I wish I had this big boy all together, so it'd be pretty glorious in regards to you guys seeing exactly what I've been dealing with. But solid steel stock bar, that's been a pain, so I've moved over to this, which is 1/5 the size and just as strong. So pretty crazy, right? Cost me, for 10 of those bars at 6 feet, cost me like close to $270.
Is that the tool steel or the mild steel?
No, this is the 1080 cold rolled steel, and then the tube steel is over here. I do not recommend working with solid steel stock bar. If you were to do something, make it out of something like this, where it's hollow. There's a guy we probably both know that goes by Skull, but it's Skull Mechanics. Let me switch this over.
Oh, yeah.
He made his entire power armor suit out of that stock bar, the hollow one, and it's a lot thinner. He used a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and it was hollow too, and it holds the weight of his entire suit.
Though I'm not sure how thick exactly his plates are on his, but yeah, his is an absolute glorious build. But, yeah, yeah, that does seem quite excessive just for the like if you were just building something to support its own weight, that would be monstrously excessive. But I know that your goal is basically super strength.
Yep, armor plating and everything. Let me see if yep, I got a piece. So give me 1 second. Let me set you down real quick and expect to come out here just yet. So everyone's aware of AR500 steel. It's like the best in regards to armor plating and everything. Let me introduce you to what's called Hardox 450. This is almost as strong as AR 500 steel, but it's very malleable. I managed to get my hands on a piece. But basically, I think it was shot at and welded over, but it's just as strong as AR 500 steel, but you can curve this stuff. And apart from that, like honestly, if you're working with Armour plates, this is something to look into. Hardox 450.
I might have to get me some of that, because I've actually forged an axe out of wear plate, which is it was made by a company called Bizzaloy, and it's probably either an approximate form of AR 500 or it might actually be AR 500. But oh my god, that stuff was horrible to forge. You heat it up to temp and you hit it and nothing happens. But
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I would not want to have to hand forge full thickness AR 500 based on making that axe. But
I do recommend, if you are making an exoskeleton of some sorts, use this material. It's called neoprene. It's really affordable, but this is like impact absorbent material. I've lined the inside of my suit with it, so in regards to getting hit or concussion or compression or anything like that, the user does not feel a thing. So I don't know if I've passed that on to you before, but that's like so it's going to get a little nerdy here. In order for Tony Stark to be able to fly and immediately stop, and that inside the suit would basically turn him into an egg omelet. He would need some sort of dampening material on the inside, which I've labeled or I've marked down to sorbethane, which is like for a foot by foot of that, it's like $100. Pretty expensive stuff. But that's the next level of affordable stuff in regards to impact absorbing material. It just disperses all the impact and just makes it so you don't feel any of it. There's no damage to anything. So not only am I going to have that on the inside of my suit, I'm planning on maybe a thicker or a thin layer between my frame. Let me flip this around. Between the outside frame of it and then the armor plate that goes on top of it. So
is that similar to like a camping ground pad, or is it? Or it's probably like you get those bed rolls that are like a closed cell foam. They're pretty common.
It's much better.
Okay, I might have to look at some pricing on that, though. I'm not intending on actually getting shot at in mine. Mine's purely just a proof of concept for articulation. Yes, I've said articulation. You're welcome. So those people
even in moving in a suit, you're still going to find a lot of moving or a lot of energy is going to be transferred from the suit itself to you until we get the technology where we can actually mend, kind of like the Halo suit, where we can mend the user with the actual armor itself, so it becomes one. Until then, we kind of have to deal with I'm setting up a little thing real quick so I can show you. We have to deal with the transfer of motion while we are moving. A lot of that, if you don't have that sort of thing, sorry, my phone's dying. If we don't have that sort of thing hooked up, you will automatically feel that transfer. It doesn't matter how thick the steel is. So as you're walking, if not even in a combat situation, you will be feeling that transfer of energy.
Yeah, fit and shaping and comfort is a major component of good exoskeleton design, as in from what I've heard from people who build them professionally, as well as from, of course, armorers. Because yeah. So hopefully my background with armoring will help a lot with that, because yeah. Yeah, a little bit of cushion, but even without padding, like my suit of armor moves fine even without any padding, because it distributes loads over such large surface areas. So, but I'm not getting smashed with hammers and axes in it. If that was the case, it might be a slight. I might disagree.
And one thing I do give to you is you made your suit skin tight, which if I can go back when I first started on this entire thing, I would make everything skin tight. When you have that buffer between you and your suit, that's just basically you flying around inside of it. And it's a lot harder to control. I'm pretty sure during your forging quests, I should say, while you were God, my vocabulary sucks right now. This is usually part of the day where I just vegetate and watch Netflix. But as you were going through making armor, you realize it's a lot better in regards to defense and strength and everything when it was a lot tighter on your body, which I've noticed with your compression articulating plates. That's kind of like the key to it. The tighter it is to the body, the better it is in regards to moving.
But also it helps keep it in position. Like a well-made set of greaves just stays in place without any straps holding it up because it rests on the calf and it can't slide down, and like nice tight in the hips, and it's like a hiking backpack, and you just the rest of the harness is held in place just by just everything like that. It's these little details that they learnt over hundreds of years of you just bring it in to like shape it like the muscle here, and then it won't move, and it's like, and it'll feel more comfortable. It's like, I'm just just skipping the line by reverse engineering hundreds of years worth of R&D.
Right? Like when I step into these things, I'll show you real quick. It's, oh God, like I don't mean to complain, but this thing is such a monster. Like when I stick my leg into it, let's not cut my feet open. There we go. You see how much play I have with my leg?
Yeah, so you're essentially, when you try to take a step, you'd be kicking the inside of that.
Yeah, in most cases, I put the weight of my foot on the top here, and I'm using my hips and my thighs to pick up the 100-pound leg and then move it over. So I look like I'm wobbling. But if you have the entire thing skin tight, you don't have that problem.
No, so it feels like it's part of your skin.
Oh yeah. And honestly, that is the key for something like this. My phone's freaking out. There you go. Yeah.
The downside is if you're also into bodybuilding, you have to resize constantly.
Oh yeah. I bulk pretty easily. I've been doing a lot of strength training to kind of not have to buy more steel and reshape and everything like that. It's next to impossible.
Yeah, well, oof. Yeah, I lost 30 kilos, so I had to I spent like a month just constantly reshaping my breastplate smaller and smaller and smaller. So there was like that much overlap at one point between the front and back. It's like, but it's worth it.
It is, honestly.
Although luckily I didn't have to resize the arms at all.
So my first project is this. Can I get it in a view? Where is it? Yep, that helmet right over there.
Oh yeah.
That was the first project I ever did, and it can't fit my head now. But it just goes to show, like, whatever you create, you're always going to be changing no matter what. So you always have to basically, it's a constant progress.
Yeah. So try to save what you can on materials because it's most likely going to end up as scrap anyway.
Yep. Here's a good example. I just thought of this. This was Prometheus's face originally. You can see the nose, the forehead right here, and then the eye pieces. But that changed real quick because it turned out it was too big for everything that I was doing. And then by the time I got to making the helmet or the frame for the HUD, this was perfect. But I had already thrown this to the side. It's just a monument to the journey, I guess. Now,
Yeah, you could make it a lawn ornament, weld it up, have it in your front yard. Call it modern art.
it's just a waste of material.
Yeah, it's modern art. Sell it for a fortune.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Anyways, before we run out of time, is there anything you've wanted to touch base on for this video?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it with an introduction to your builds. Oh, wait, no. You kept referring it to Fallout. So I understand you're no longer trying to, yes, Adam Victorium. So I understand for a while you were going to try and replicate power armor from Fallout, but you're not going in that direction anymore.
Yeah, a lot of cosplayers, they can do it, which is completely fine. If it's just for show, the frame and the design is perfect. It's just as tied to the body as it needs to be and whatnot. But the logistics of it, the motors and everything like that. Like, let me grab one of these motors real quick so I can show you. In regards to, here we go. This motor pushes 1,300 pounds. You see how big that puppy is? You're gonna need at least 2 of them per limb for power armor. And obviously the size difference and the frame for the power armor in Fallout, you have to start from scratch. I believe at some point when I was starting with my version 1 gauntlet, where's it looked like a human hand. Where's that thing? I think it's on the wall up there. Yeah, you can see it up in the corner.
Yep.
Let me go in and show you a better version of it. I remember you commenting on my video saying, hey, word of advice, go with your own design, because if you try to copy something verbatim, it's not going to work as much. Best advice ever. I ended up just scrapping the entire power armor frame design by itself, because even just this hand, which was supposed to be meant by pulley cables, you run into more problems than you succeed. But if you create your own design and you just think, how am I gonna make it work, instead of worrying about what it looks like, you come up with amazing things. Like and I'll just show this hand real quick. This hand itself has 3,000 pounds of crushing force. These fingers, they hold 2 90 kg servos, one in the back and one in the top, that mimics the, I should really clean up my shop. It mimics the force of the hand, and it gives you what you need to do. Let's see, here we are. Yep, so 2 of these per hand. In all reality, this is more like, God, I keep bouncing back and forth. Something like this is needed to give you super strength, but the power armor hand itself is meant for looks. Like there's no spots whatsoever where you can put any kind of motor or anything in there. Even futuristic sci-fi motors and stuff like that. Sure, you can articulate having like a circular motor in the knees and the shoulders and stuff, but the strength and the power that comes and the individual articulation it's not realistic. So if you want to bridge the gap between fantasy and realism, you have to just stop caring. Like, yeah, you go back and forth, but for me, I was driving myself crazy trying to make it look right instead of having it function right. So
yeah, see, with you, it seemed to me that your real goal was to make something functional as opposed to making something aesthetic, which is a real issue with a lot of these cosplayers who are trying to build real power armor that looks aesthetically like the original from whatever piece of media is. They're restricting themselves to the designs of people who don't necessarily know anything. Well, they might know something about armor, but they might also just completely make it up, and it's just a piece of pure fantasy. And so it doesn't always, it might not be the most practical design, though you can do a lot. I've been giving a lot of thought about how to actually make a real suit of armor that looks aesthetically just like Mjolnir, but still has actual protection. And of course, with what I do with historical armoring, where a big part of that for historical armoring is trying to capture the aesthetic, because it doesn't matter if it's like, oh yeah, it's a sheet of metal that wraps around you. Congratulations, that's not historically accurate whatsoever. So yeah, there's definitely a balance to be had. Some designs are just pure fantasy made up by a graphics design team. Sometimes you just got to ask yourself, what's more important to you as the creator? Is it the aesthetics or is it the function? The more I think about how to actually try and recreate the exact look of some of these sci-fi armors, but have them be actual functional armor, I do have some ideas, such as like, I could probably do a whole podcast on that subject alone, but I'll just give you I could give you a little teaser with Brigandine. Like for Mjolnir, most of the surface area is that flexible undersuit. Well, that is meant to be like a flexible textile, not solid plates, but there's no reason why you couldn't sandwich plates in between that. Like if you know what a brigandine or a coat of plates or a jack of plates is, you've got 2 layers of fabric or leather in some cases with very small plates in between, and you could probably make something that looks just like Mjolnir, but that you could actually go and fight in a SCA type of battle and actually have real protection, and it would be amazing. But yeah, that's not a project I'm planning on working on anytime soon, though we both know someone who is. Which
there's something I've been thinking about experimenting with. It's called, so there's a difference between an exoskeleton and an endoskeleton. Obviously the exoskeleton surrounds your body, but on the inside of the exoskeleton is the endoskeleton. That's more, I'm going to do small tests in regards to putting potentiometers and whatnot in the joints that runs some motors or servos. Potentiometers takes a, hold on, I got one right here I can show you in my magical bag of forbidden electronics. There we go. So this is basically like a potentiometer right here. So like this is a servo controller, but it takes the direction and position of let's see if I can pop this off. There we go, right there. This is what I'm talking about. If you put these in the joints, it could take the position of your actual joints in the endoskeleton and translate that to the exoskeleton, Big Bertha over there, and that'd be able to take all the weight off from you, and that'll run the mech suit itself without you having to deal with any of that force. It's a concept I honestly was just exposed to, so if you guys have more leeway into it, I highly recommend it. But basically, if you take potentiometers in the joints, you'll be able to run a PWM signal to the microcontroller. I got a lot of electronics, so I wish I had this all set up. Or you can even run it to relays with touch sensors on the inside. That's hooked to motors. You'd be able to take the positioning of your arm on the inside of the exoskeleton, and that'll control the movement of the entire thing itself.
Oh, so you're talking about like having a master slave system where you're wearing a frame inside of the armor, and there's the okay, so like the Hardyman suit was originally built. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I just wish I had better everything set up to explain it a lot better.
Basically,
Iron
like
Man, the first one, he said
let's see if I can explain it in layman's terms. So sort of like you've got the armor, which is controlled by a controller, but that controller is a full body suit. So you see some people have got robots that they can control by wearing a suit, and they make a move, and the robot next to them also makes the same action. But with a master slave system like the Hardyman, the control suit that the controller is wearing is inside of the robot that is being controlled by it.
Yeah, pretty much. And you're not in the exoskeleton itself. The only thing that's attached to you is the endoskeleton, which is the first layer. And then that endoskeleton is attached directly to the exoskeleton. So even if you were hit by an outside force, the exoskeleton could take all the force and the weight, but none of that energy will transfer to the endoskeleton that you're attached to. This is you right here. You're attached to the endoskeleton. All that force on the exterior of the suit won't even transfer to you. The suit isn't going to move until you and the endoskeleton move itself. So yeah, basically, in layman's terms, the slave system that you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any companies that are currently going with that method. So I'm not sure how viable a solution that would be, considering that, like, I'm keeping an eye on lots of people building them as professional engineers who work in electronics, and I don't think anyone since the Hardyman has really been looking at building one that way. So there's a good example of a company called Ubionic. They sell a lot of 3D prints of robot hands and stuff like that, and then they show the user putting their hand inside of a glove that has a bunch of flex sensors hooked to basically a microcontroller that runs that signal to the servos itself. It's just basically the same concept, except imagine that robotic hand a lot bigger, and then you slip that hand that you slip the just repeating myself. The hand that goes around the glove that goes around your hand is just basically slipped inside of it. So yeah, so it's a Russian doll.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of companies are not doing it because it's a fairly newer concept, but it's a lot of potentiometers and a lot of flex sensors.
And a lot of parts.
You have to have a lot of open ports, basically. You have to have like an Arduino with a servo shield, and I got plenty of those, but anyways.
Maybe we should have a break and come back, and maybe we can have a chat about what's going on in the Power Armor community.
Sounds good.
All right.